Hello, everybody. Well, I came from Bluefield, Virginia. That's what I want to do this video about. Bluefield, Virginia is a small town in Virginia. And it's actually, over the years, even since I left in 94, but since then it's actually grown quite a bit. I think I left Bluefield not too long after they got their Walmart. And at that time, they had a new food line. They had a new Walmart. And I left, and I moved to Greensboro. And I've only been back a few times. I've not been back since, well, it's been quite a few years since I've been back. But I remember going back, it seemed very different. You know, I don't know whether it's being here in the city, but things seem a lot smaller. You know, the roads seem skinnier. Everything just seems just different. And I was born and raised there all my life. But there are some things I remember about Bluefield. And I remember when I lived out there, like I said, before we got to Walmart, I basically lived on the Bluefield, Virginia side and did most of my shopping on the Bluefield, West Virginia side. When I first come down here, people would say, well, where are you from? I'd say Bluefield, Virginia. You know, I'm from Virginia. They say, what part? I said, Bluefield. They say, you mean Bluefield, West Virginia? And I would always have to correct them and say, no, Bluefield, Virginia. Because most people down here had heard of Bluefield, West Virginia, but they had never heard of Bluefield, Virginia. So I had to straighten them up on how that went. I can remember before I moved down here, I can remember going to Hills. How many of you remember Hills Department Store? I'm sure everybody remembers Hills. I used to shop there all the time. Used to put the kids' Christmas and everything on layaway there at Hills Department Store. And I can remember going in there, taking my kids to school. And me and my mom both. She used to put her Christmas on layaway too. And we would get there at Hills early in the morning when it first opened. We'd be standing outside waiting to get in, along with everybody else. And then we'd go in, you know, you take your little ticket over there and wait for your number to be called for your layaway. And, you know, by the time you get back there, it's already so crowded because everybody's in the layaway department. And I can remember the smell of the popcorn when you go in. And my kids, you know, I always got them some popcorn, but my son always wanted one of those big, soft, twisty pretzels. You remember those pretzels. And right down at the other end of Hills was, I think, Murphy's. I believe it was GC Murphy's or G something Murphy's, I believe. And I used to love to go in there and shop, too. Right around the corner was, of course, the cinemas were there. I'm not sure if the cinemas are still there or not. Does anybody know? Are those cinemas still there? Because when I left, they were still there, but they were like $2 cinemas or something. They used to have a Witchcraft, but I believe it moved from there before I moved out here. But I used to love to go to Witchcraft, too. Is there anything even in that shopping center now? Can anybody tell me that? Is anything in that shopping center? I know before I left to come out here, I believe there was a club, a nightclub or something put in there, but I can't remember what the name of it was. I believe me and my sister went there a couple times, but I can't remember what the name of it was or if it's still there. I remember a place on the Bluefield, Virginia side called Ben Franklin's. Ben Franklin's 5 and Dime, and it's located right in the heart of downtown Bluefield, Virginia. Kroger was right here. Ben Franklin's was here, and they shared the same parking lot. And I can remember going into Ben Franklin's, you know, parking here in the parking lot, going into Ben Franklin's, and then just going out the back door of Ben Franklin's and walking on over to Kroger and doing my grocery shopping. Or helping Mom with grocery shopping. But then, because it wasn't Kroger's by the time I was grown. By the time I was grown, it was IGA, but I believe they're gone too. As a matter of fact, I believe they've torn down most of downtown Bluefield, Virginia. But I remember at Ben Franklin's, when I was a little girl, we would have X amount of money in a Christmas club. I think Mom and Dad put $1 a month for each of us kids into a Christmas club. And that gave us $12 at the end of the year to do our Christmas shopping with. Well, $12 back when we were little bought a lot more. $12 won't buy you anything these days. But it bought quite a bit back then. We was able to get a gift for each other, at Ben Franklin's Five and Dime. And I used to love to go shopping down there. And I remember we would go down there. It'd be after dark, near Christmas time, and Santa Claus would be sitting, he'd have a little stand up or something, and Santa Claus would be at the Ben Franklin Five and Dime and be passing out hot Dr. Pepper with lemon wedges. Now, nobody remembers this but me that I've talked to. Nobody remembers this but me. And I know it's not in the old noggin. I know I got hot Dr. Pepper with a lemon wedge. And, but I can remember at the Ben Franklin's Five and Dime, they had little baby chickens, little baby chicks, especially at Easter time, and they had them in all different colors. They had them in all kinds of pastel colors. And Mom would go down there every year at Easter time and get us some little baby chickens. And everybody, all of us had our little baby chicken, could identify it by its color. And I always got the little yellow chicken. And I always wanted a pink chicken or a purple chicken, but somebody else always got those. And I always got the yellow chicken. But we would go out, and then we would come back, and they would be out of their little box and be scurrying all through the kitchen. And I remember Mom and running around and grabbing up those baby chickens and putting them back in the box and swearing she's never going to get us any more chickens. So, I can remember before Walmart was built, I remember they had, I think it was Leatherwood Dairy Farms over there, and you could ride past, and you could see the cows out there grazing and everything. And when they come up on talking about that it was a potential site for a Walmart, a lot of people were really, really mad about it. And a lot of people didn't want a Walmart going up out there at that Leatherwood site. But it's there, be that as it may. I can remember going to Pickway. I remember the last time I was in Virginia, I drove down past that way, and a lot of businesses looked like they were gone. And Pickway was one of them. Pickway, the windows was all boarded up and everything. And that's where I remember fondly, I would always go there and buy my kids shoes. I didn't buy their shoes at Heels or department stores. I always went to Pickway. And I remember I used to do it like Mom used to do it when we was little. I'd put their foot on a piece of paper and draw around their foot, and then take them to school, and I'd take their footprint to pick out their shoes. And so I remember Pickway. Also, Kresge. I know everybody remembers Kresge. And everybody remembers Kresge Donuts. Now, my Aunt Patty used to make those Kresge Donuts at one time. She worked there for a while. She worked the lunch counter. And then she would work sometimes when the other lady wasn't there. She would work over in the little donut place. And I can remember when I was a little girl, and I had this growth on my chin right here. And it would grow, and it would keep coming back. And I would keep going up there to the doctor. And it was on Bland Street, I believe, in one of the clinics up there right up from Kresge. I can't remember the name of the street, but Mom would take me up there, and the doctor would cut it off. And I remember I was a little girl, and we walked down to Kresge, and she bought me the little teeny tiny, but it was real thick, a little teeny tiny thick book of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and a bag of donuts. And it was so much fun, and I remember that. And I remember it was a cloudy day. Funny how certain things like that just stick out in your mind. Everybody loved Kresge's. Now, when I was pregnant with my daughter, when I was pregnant for the first time, I bought my first maternity clothes from Kresge's. And I remember going in one door on one side of the street and always going out the other one, the one that was sort of catty corner where you go up like 3 steps and then you go out. And I always loved to hear the Christmas music playing while I was in Kresge's. Used to stop down at the Tasty Freeze all the time and eat. Last I heard, Tasty Freeze sold out. It's still there, but it goes by another name or anything. Does anybody know anything about that? What is the Tasty Freeze called now? And do they still sell the big teas? I remember the big teas. They used to give me a big tea there all the time. And they had the jukebox over here. I used to put some money in the jukebox and eat a big tea. Yeah, I remember the Tasty Freeze. I remember the Skyway Drive-In Theater. I worked there for a short time. I think I worked there for about a week, maybe 2 weeks. And I couldn't deal with everybody coming in on the breaks. And it was chaotic. So, and at that time I was still in high school too. So, no. Mr. Hill was the man's name that I worked for. Mr. Hill is the one who run the Skyway. But anyway, the thing that I didn't like about the Skyway was that in their bathrooms were cold. You know, it was just cold, and the toilets and everything were black. You know, so when you flush the toilet, you couldn't tell if the water was going down, coming up, whatever. And you go in there to use the bathroom, I wouldn't use it in there because you couldn't tell if there was anything in that water. You couldn't tell if somebody just peed in that water and didn't flush. I didn't like those bathrooms. I didn't like those bathrooms at all. And one thing that happened before I came out here in '94, this happened in the early '90s or late '80s. I can't remember which. But when Graham High School had the sinkholes. And that was bizarre because they had to share the schools with the middle school. Now, at that time, I believe my son was in Graham Elementary School, I believe. And my daughter might have been in the middle school. Because she had to go to school like from 12 to 5 or something in the evenings after the high school had finished school. And I can remember already having my son at home and then having to go back to the bus stop for her. And then I remember one day it was snowing and time had changed and it was already dark outside before she got home. And it was pouring down snow. And I remember that. And that's when they was talking about building a new school. But they never did. And so... But I really can't remember what year that was, like I said. But anyway, so I know there's a lot about Bluefield that I've left out, but for sake of time and stuff, I'm just going to stop the video right now. So tell me what you think. Do you remember the baby chickens at Ben Franklin's? Do you remember Ben Franklin's? Do you remember any of this stuff that I've talked about? And maybe you remember something that I've left out. And you can either do a video post or just put a post or a comment about it. And tell me what you remember. What are some of your memories? And until next time, bye-bye.